Welcome back, guys, to the Pod of Greed.
That's right. Back to our normal schedule, finally. Had a few desynchronized weeks.
That's true. It's back to Thursday for you guys.
Yeah,
it's
back
Wednesday
to
for
Thursdays.
us.
Yeah. It's stressful. There's a lot going on this time around.
Yeah, lots of Yugioh. We got new reveals, new things.
New community concerns.
Concerns are right. Yeah, concerns is the right word
that's
for
probably
it.
a word.
Like, I'm concerned. I'm personally concerned.
Yeah, and other card games too.
There's been lots of things going on here
and stuff. So.
Looking at you, wizards.
Yeah, so it'll be fun. But first, I think I've got a new review. This is one that I believe I haven't read. It's slightly older. As always, guys, if you follow the podcast on any number of platforms, Google, Amazon, Apple, whatever, please leave us a positive review. A 5-star, everything helps.
And it's okay to be honest and give Paul a 1-star and me a 5. It's okay. I get it.
So this review just says, great to listen to, and I get the easy 2-0 at locals. This guy. That's from Pokebrolik is his name.
So are we easy to listen to if they don't get the 2-0 at locals?
Well, I suppose the idea is that if they get the 2-0, then it's like they have 30 minutes to spare.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
But also that could apply to if you get 2-0'd. Really quickly, you still would have time
now,
to...
that's something I'm personally familiar with.
I feel like the type of person who listens to this podcast might be the person who went 0-2. But it also might be the person who went 2-0.
I think Pot of Greed listeners are probably pretty skilled. Judging from the comments that we get.
Yeah, I think people know what they're talking about.
They sound like they know more than we do.
So yeah, we appreciate that. And of course, we appreciate you just following the RSS feed on any of those different platforms. All right, we got Yu-Gi-Oh!
You said that like you're not excited.
Oh no, I'm excited. I'm excited. It's just that it's not heavy topics, but
there's a lot of
contentious ones.
There's a lot
of topics, and there's some contentious ones. So, first things first, we'll start positive. We've gotten a lot of new card reveals in just the past week.
Plenty.
I think that the biggest one probably came just most recently, and that was the Diabellstar. There's a new Diabellstar sort of lore monster.
Diabells
or Diabellsis. I don't know how that.
We don't know how this is going to translate out.
Yeah, so you actually play these Sinful Spoils kind of Diabellstar deck.
I do.
With proxies.
Wanteds are expensive. Y'all leave me alone.
But Alec follows the lore. So fill us in. What are you thinking about?
So I'm gonna start with lore and then the cards themselves, effects wise. Mm-hmm. Lore wise, it's really cool. Diabellstar is the seeker of sinful spoils. She goes around looking for these artifacts and treasures, and then she kind of incorporates them into her kit that she uses to find more treasures. Mm-hmm. And recently that was Snake Eyes, where she gets her new kind of familiar Snake Eyes Populace. And you see in the Goblin Rider's story that we're getting in our next set, Phantom Nightmare, that they actually end up kind of kidnapping Populace.
Yeah.
And then Diabellstar kind of goes John Wick on them.
Yeah.
But Diabell's, it looks like she just shows up and snatches Populace from everybody.
Yeah.
And she seems to have her own sinful spoils and her own tricks that she does not mind going head to head with Diabellstar.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. It feels like her artwork suggests that I guess she is. I mean, Diabellstar's art kind of is more. She's running it rough a bit. You know?
Kind of the ragtag treasure hunter rogue.
Whereas this new monster feels like she's a little bit more funded.
More well funded, more well to do.
Yeah. She might have an organization or something that formally hires her.
She's a noble versus more of a peasant. I hate calling Diabellstar a peasant,
but I think also what's probably got more people talking about is her effect.
Yeah, and that's what I want to get into.
The effect is really interesting.
The fact that she can summon herself if either you or your opponent has a sinful spoils. One that's connected to the lore of her looking for sinful spoils too, but for the game itself, my gosh!
I mean, it's a big deal because a lot of people are obviously playing the sinful spoils deck in different degrees. Either you're taking the engine into something, or you're playing it pure. And after Phantom Nightmare and Legacy Destruction, that will probably only be even more true. So mirror matches will be just honestly crazy.
They're going to be toxic.
It's interesting. Her announcement came really shortly after. I just remembered that other just generic Sinful Spoils card that's also in Legacy of Destruction,
Yep.
where like based on how many Sinful Spoils cards are in a player's graveyard, you can pop cards in their field, like that whole thing. So there's a lot of Sinful Spoils stuff going on, but I think the biggest part about Diabellus, or Diabells, is that your opponent can only activate like spell and trap cards that are set.
Yes.
And that's effectively a floodgate against a lot of different things. That means that quick play spells cannot be activated from the hand. They have to be set first. And just as a reminder of game mechanics, you cannot activate quick play spells the turn that you set them. You can activate any other kind of spell, but not quick play spells.
So it makes them kind of useless. Kind of, not completely.
Yeah, like it means that it really becomes like an anti-spell fragrance for those. For anything else, you could still just set it. Like I could set Rhoda and then flip it. But that's sort of where her second effect comes in, where when a card gets set, she is able to target a card on both fields and pop it. And so that means she could target she could like pop the thing that was just set, which makes it like hard to kind of resolve a lot of continuous spells and certain like normal spells. And it's an interesting like effect. There's some intended or maybe unintended side effects as well.
Poor pendulums.
Yeah, pendulums as a mechanic just can't function with her because they can't be set. They have to be activated, and they can't be activated while she's in the field. So it's like an anti-spell fragrance, but also she turns off infinite impermanence and evenly matched from being activated in the hand. Or even like a card like Super Polymerization came to mind for me. So I thought that was just really cool, the whole way that she kind of operates.
I'm really curious to see how the metagame changes when she comes out, because it's fairly obvious you can use this with Diabellstar just fine. They're actually synergistic in the same decks. They don't step on each other's toes all that much. But for the people who are running Diabellstar as an engine and those Sinful Spoils, I wonder if they'll still do that when there's a card that walks around trying to invalidate your strategy of setting your Sinful Spoils.
Yeah, I also think she's just gonna change the way that like people approach their turn. Like, you know, how you like what order you activate things, how you try to bait out her effect. And will we even see like a decrease in the play of something like Imperm or Evenly just because of her mere presence? Right.
She's a very if that in your main deck really
like it certainly
changes things.
Yeah, it seems scary. So she also got 2 traps that are kind of about, you know, setting cards and like being able to revive her or other illusion monsters, which I guess brings you to the next point, which is that she's an illusion monster.
Yep, not a spellcaster.
So I think that's within the lore. You can actually see like kind of the Eye of Wajat or whatever.
Yeah, you pointed that out to me on her coat. She does have the eye.
Yeah, she has that design. And a couple of things about that. So I guess the first thing is that illusion monsters in the original like lore of Yu-Gi-Oh are supposed to be the counter to spellcaster monsters.
Or at least to dark magic.
Yeah, to like dark magic in that sort of like square of interactivity of like them and fiends and then white magic and all that. Manga heads will know. But as it relates to her, it kind of makes sense that she's like Diabellstar's rival. So she's also kind of the type of monster that would counter her. It makes even more sense when you consider that Diabellstar is like a dark magician analog.
Yeah.
So there's a lot just
and I get
flavor-wise
would that
happening.
make her, are her stats the same as Diabellstar's?
Yeah, they have identical stats.
That means she's a nightmare magician on analog.
Yeah. Now,
no one used that.
Design-wise, it's interesting to see the illusion type, I guess, developing. She's the first illusion monster to not have the battle phase effect.
Which outside I checked, she's not the first one.
There's a vanilla monster that doesn't either.
For some reason, initial illusion monsters have that effect, and then new ones just don't.
Yeah, for those who don't know what we're talking about, the illusion type, which is only recently introduced, came out in Duelist Nexus last year. Their sort of gimmick, or what seemed to be their gimmick, was that they can't be destroyed by battle or destroy other monsters in battle, but like battle damage is still calculated normally. So that's sort of supposed to be their thing.
They usually get an effect if they did battle though.
Yeah, so typically the benefit is just that like, you know, you can attack stuff and then get some effect out of it, right? I think that it was only a matter of time until they dropped that, like from cards.
I just thought it wouldn't last a little bit longer.
Yeah, I thought it would maybe last a bit longer. Like Psychics and 5Ds when that came out.
Yeah.
They had the life point paying effects as sort of their gimmick. And that lasted for a good, at least year. But yeah, it seems like they don't really care about that with her. They're
No,
just sort of
they
like,
don't care.
She's got her own thing going. That said, it would be very annoying if she also was like battle immune or whatever.
Yeah.
Because being a floodgate monster and then also not being able to be swung over just suddenly adds a whole new dimension.
One more way you can't interact.
To the oppression. So, I'm interested in her. I really think it's cool. I've seen a lot of fan art as well.
I'm interested in her is a wild statement.
Yeah, no, I'm not like that.
After what I saw on Twitter today, that's a wild sentence.
Yeah. Well, it did get me to thinking, though. People really seem to like the Diabellstar story so far. It's the new lore story. I've seen a lot of fan art of her. I even saw like a OCG or like just maybe an OCG player, a Japanese player or something on Twitter who had made a 3D model of Diabellstar and was like having it dance and stuff. And like I think the model, like they'd made the model themselves because I don't think it's just been in a video game or anything to rip the asset out of.
They would have had to put it together themselves.
It was a fan made thing, and I thought that was kind of cool. Like it's almost like Konami's got a cool thing on their hands that people are kind of getting into.
No,
maybe
don't you do it. You're gonna bring up how they could spin this off into a manga or another anime. No, we're not doing this again.
Yeah, make a little short.
Like they won't do it.
Engage people around the product.
They won't
and the new cards so that they can actually associate good things with like her and her story as opposed to just more dark magician.
You just
and blue
wait
eyes.
for 7 years when the OCG stories for her comes out.
Yeah, in like 2032 or something, they finally announced it. The Veilstar gets a manga. 5 years after her meta relevance and after Wanted's been like limited and everything.
But it does make sense that people are interested. This is a very different kind of lore character. Up until now, our lore main characters, they've all been like these younger male characters. Well, Visas is a bit ambiguous with his age, but he still seems young enough. But we have the girl witch who drinks.
Yeah. I remember people on Twitter were saying like she's a drunken girl failure. Which that was my first time hearing that term. Apparently that's like a normal term, a girl failure. So it's like an endearing thing. But I think she's cool. She seems kind of relatable. She seems not as like self-important as a character as like maybe Visas or Albaz seemed to be.
Like maybe it gets there. I don't know.
Yeah. So I think that's refreshing. And one last thing about Diabells or Belsis or whatever, new light girl that we're talking about, is that it continues this trend that I've sort of noticed of each of the Sinful Spoils archetypes, kind of taking existing mechanics and using them in unique ways. Mm-hmm. So like the Albaz story was all about like each one would have like a fusion monster and then like, that kind of happened. Or with like the Visas lore, each of the 4 major archetypes was a different summoning type. Scareclaws were Lynx, Castor was Xyz, Tear Elements was Fusion, and Menadium was Synchro.
The same was almost true for Albaz because they also all use different summoning types as well.
Yeah, but with this, the Sinful Spoils are they push monsters into the spell and trap zone. Goblin Riders detach materials from Xyz. Mm-hmm. Kind of unique too because it doesn't affect the Xyz, so it can get around like those X-Pirelli Noir type of cards, which is a good thing. And now this new girl just kind of interacts with set cards, like just cards being set or cards having to be set. So
in fact, she almost exists to make trap decks have to think a little bit harder.
Yeah, certain trap decks, certainly anything that uses quick play spells and just everything. Yeah, so I think that's all I have to say on her.
That is fair. We said a lot. We had a lot to say about her.
Okay. We don't normally spend this much time on a new card, but she's, probably going to be a high impact thing.
And high in
price too. We'll get there. Real quick, I wanted to talk about the Reika archetype though.
Oh yeah.
This got announced.
AKA new Tri Brigade.
Yeah, it kind of feels that way. So this one's a new archetype of like main deck and link monsters. They do feel pretty similar to Tri Brigade in a way. They kind of ladder up their link monsters.
And it's a multi-type theme being reptile, insect, and forgot the last one. Plant.
Yeah. Plant, and insect, and reptile are, I believe, is the 3 types.
Yeah.
Okay. I read their cards. I will obviously not like go through and like read each individual one, but the main not like on podcast, but the main thing is just that they summon each other and they link up. Now they do seem to banish the cards and then recycle the banished cards and stuff a lot, like as kind of as part of their effect.
That just sounds like a modern Yu-Gi-Oh archetype to me.
Yeah, so I thought that the art looked really cool.
Oh yeah, that kind of that dark cyber like samurai thing that they're putting on plants, reptiles, and insects. It actually looks sick.
Yeah, the aesthetic is nice. It also type locks you in for many of their effects. So that's good, I think, usually. We need more type locking in Yu-Gi-Oh!, in my opinion at least, because sometimes pile decks can get really insane.
Like cards can just get a little too generic.
And they picked like 3 types that are not so obscenely strong. Like plant's probably the most supported of those 3.
And that feels like that's only recently have plants kind of bounced back into the metasphere. They used to be like huge meta way back when, but
yeah, and like insect and reptile, that's not. There's not like that's not like rife for abuse or anything.
Because the last time they were meta was Insectors, and B Troopers was trying to get there.
Yeah, I would say that's true. And then as for reptiles, I mean, they've been struggling. Like people had hope for like Snake Rain to eventually be good, and Dodic came out, and it still didn't matter. And
Snake Rain's been out for so long, and we have not found like the game-breaking way to use it.
I mean, it's not to say that like there've been like sparse reptile one-off monsters. Kagato Kage has like, that was like a thing, or King of the Feral Imps will like search a thing, but yeah, they've had it pretty rough. So I think that this is it's a neat new archetype. It's also in Legacy of Destruction, I believe. So cool. Not as much to say on it because
they make one heck of a boss monster.
Yeah, what's the boss do again? I know when your opponent summons something, it can like pop to.
Yeah, I think your opponent summons, it pops to. It's a link 5, got giant attack.
Yeah, it's like 3,300 or something.
And it can hop out the grave.
Yeah, it can summon itself back. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the Fire Princess that's coming in.
Another great
Phantom
card.
Nightmare, the Fire Princess Link. But
can't wait.
Yeah, so shout out to Rika, pretty cool. Okay, now we get into probably the meat of the story. But we'll start positive first. So, Maze of Memories got its content creator reveals this past week.
I was locked in for those.
Yeah, that was very exciting. I know going into it, Maze of Memories had a fair bit of excitement and mystery around it. I mean, last year, or Maze of Millenia, my bad. I said Maze of Memories. Last year was Maze of Memories.
I get them confused.
Weird name, Maze of Millenia. What is that? Because Maze of Memories, I'm sorry, I'm like tangenting a little. Maze of Memories implies that like, you're kind of trapped in a maze and it's like kind of with flashbacks of things you kind of vaguely remember, right?
And the packaging kind of reflects
kind of like, ghosts from the past or something, right?
Yeah.
And it also made sense from the angle of like they're releasing Gate Guardian support, like in that set. So it's like the Maze of Memories. This time it's Maze of Millenia, and I don't really know what that means.
I think it's just because they want to keep using MOM as the
yeah, like
as a little acronym.
Yeah, but anyways, so this time around, the legacy thing that we're getting support for is actually Flame Swordsman.
Yeah,
and I think that's really cool. The Flame Swordsman cards were revealed. At first, I thought there were only like 2 of them, but there's like several.
Plenty. So, yeah, we've got plenty to work with as far as Flame Swordsman. People have been looking forward to this for a long time.
Yeah, it's old anime stuff. Everybody likes, just old anime cards to get.
Years ago, Paul and I other members of APS, we used to make these videos talking about what archetypes would you like to see retrained, even way back when we lived in the dorms. And like people always said Flame Swordsman. It has taken Konami like decades to realize, we can retrain this.
Yeah, I think they're finding more and more now that you just take any old thing and retrain it and people will be really happy.
Yeah.
So
I'm waiting for the Celtic Guardian, like elf archetype. That'll be fun.
Yeah, I feel like Celtic Guardian, Winged Dragon Guardian of the Fortress.
I don't want to see that as an archetype.
And for some reason, people kind of mentioned Lajin just because he got the lamp as a separate
would be
card.
Cool.
So it's like there's a lot of potential to
Beaver Warriors.
Okay, taking it a little far.
Oh, okay. But that's too far.
Maybe they will. I mean, they might throw. Well, I feel like Beaver Warrior could like show up in like a. How they in Legacy Destruction are doing like the Yugi deck, but it's like kind of just reinterpreting a lot of his cards into one cohesive archetype. I think they could do that with Winged Dragon, Celtic Guardian, Beaver Warrior.
Okay, like a Grandpa Moto deck.
And just like merge them all together where like they're a functioning archetype, and they just center around one spell or trap.
Grandpa Moto's card sucked. I'm sorry, Kaiba was right. I don't know, like
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Yugi's grandpa is like, oh, his deck has no pathetic cards.
yeah, he did. Yeah, he had plenty.
It had a few. So, yeah, but anyway, the Flame Swordsman stuff is cool. Definitely want to do like some sort of a theme duel with that. Would be very fun.
That versus Gaia or something.
Yeah,
something
Gaia the Fierce Knight.
Something derivative that
because like Yugi Joey. Okay. So, I had to get that yawn out because I gotta really prepare for this next part. Base of Millenia is a really cool set, and it has a few meta impacting cards as well.
Just a few,
such as Bonfire.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's later.
Bonfire.
But yeah, Bonfire, and also Transaction Rollback. A really powerful trap that's going to be pretty strong. Allows many different decks to access Eradicator, Epidemic Virus, or other sort of trap-like effects for themselves, which is pretty scary. That's going to be a pricey and meta-defining one, but nothing will be probably more pricey and meta-defining than Bonfire.
Yeah, there's a lot of decks that can use that little almost completely generic search spell.
Yeah, so this is the Pyro Rota. Add one Pyro monster from your deck to your hand. That's it. It's kind of hard to turn. But this card has been seeing a little bit of controversy because obviously it's going to be really useful in like, the Snake Eyes engine stuff people are playing. Pre-order prices for the card right now are as high as $130.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. Thoughts?
So, I mean, we know these are pre-order prices, right? So, when the card actually releases, we're not gonna have to pay $130. Some people will because they're crazy, but we don't actually have to. I wish I could say it's not justified completely, but we do have to remember that it's an ultra rare in a maze set, which means pull rates for it will be
questionable
at best.
Yeah, questionable.
Like allegedly, we don't have short prints anymore. But why do I feel like it's going to be the ultra rare we see the least of?
Don't know what would make you think that. But the point is, it's going to be in demand, which means that people for tournaments are going to need to get their bonfires.
Not one of them, not two of them. They're going to want three.
For players who compete in like regionals, YCS events, and want to win, they will get their bonfires at any cost. And so, like you said, it's only natural that this card's going to end up fetching a really high price. It's a bit of an exhausting story because
we just went through this.
Or still are going through. Like Seeker of Sinful Spoils is $100+ like right now.
Last I looked, $120.
Yeah, and we still have like the SP Little Knight kind of thing going on. So there really is this kind of unfortunate like rise in just the average price of Yu-Gi-Oh of the best Yu-Gi-Oh deck. Let me stop myself because sorry, go ahead. You first.
I was gonna say that and it's put Yu-Gi-Oh players in a bit of a catch-22, and it's because it's easy to say, well, if it's too expensive, just don't buy it. You don't need it. I've taken that stance in the past, but even more, I think that's even less relevant here than with SP Little Knight and Wanted, because if you broke the bank and you got your set, and so you can compete with the Diabell Star engine or the whole Snake Eyes deck, now Bonfire drops.
Yeah, you're locked into.
You're just kind of locked in. Are you gonna run the subpar version of the deck? You already said that you got these cards to compete.
Yeah, so
and in a weird way, Konami said they called your bluff. Said, "Do you really want to compete? Okay, here it is, ultra rare. You need 3 copies."
Yeah, and another thing too is I think that part of what makes it feel like a bit of a bad look to me is just that like Pyro hasn't been supported ever, and as of this last year, it's finally been starting to get support. Pyro, just
aggressive amounts of support,
and so we finally get the Pyro Rota, something that just seems like wow, it took us this long, right? 25 years in the game, you can finally search another type, but it's just sort of like I went and did some research. Reinforcement of the Army, or Rhoda, released as a super rare in Legacy of Darkness.
Best set of all time.
That out.
Best set of all time.
But also Fossil Dig was in, I believe, Ancient Prophecy, and it released as a common.
That's not the GOAT set.
And Fire Formation Tinky, which is sort of the equivalent for Beast Warriors, released in Cosmo Blazer as a common. So the trend here is that, when there's a type encompassing search spell, right? This isn't an archetypal thing. This isn't even a Wanted Seeker of Sinful Spoils or a Nadir Servant. This is just, add one Pyro monster. So a card that's meant to obviously be useful in the Diabell Star kind of Snake Eye thing,
but also many decks.
But also many things. If you're an anime fan and you've been waiting for, Volcanic support for
Shout
years.
out Pain.
Then you finally got it last year. Except now the search spell that would make it, more consistent, because let's face it, Volcanics aren't the most consistent thing in the world. The search spell is this card. An ultra rare with a huge price in secondary market. Now, Konami, we have to be fair to them. They are not making you pay $130. As bad as this story can feel, Konami is not telling you to buy any particular thing.
They're telling you to buy a sealed product.
Yeah, Konami just wants you to buy, more Maze of Memories, and whether or not you pull Bonfire, Maze of Millenia, sorry. Yeah, I'll never get that right. They just want you to buy more Maze of Millenia packs, and if you pull some Bonfire, it's good, and if you don't, you got to buy more until you do. Or trade at your local card shop. It's
trade.
Easy. Just trade. So, I just think that knowing what here's a better way to put it. We're celebrating the 25th anniversary this year, right? That's kind of the
No,
thing.
it's 2024 now.
It's still happening, remember. According to Konami, anyway. So here's the thing. We're 20 tilde sign 25 years into this game.
Right.
They know what it means to print a card as an ultra rare in a set like this. Konami, product design, so they're aware of what what the side effect of that will be.
That ultra rares are impossible to pull.
Yeah, and these side sets, they kind of know the pull rates. It's going to be rough. So I really think that this really just should have been a super or whatever, a common in the set.
It's just given that precedent shows that cards like this are typically lower rarity.
Yeah, Fossil Dig was like it. Tinky was like it. Roto was a super, but then quickly became a common in every other set under the sun.
And all those cards, you could argue, is just as impactful for their times as this card is now. Tinky was huge.
Yeah,
Roto
Tinky was
huge.
Big, yeah. Fossil Dino was probably the only one that wasn't a big deal on release, but now is quite good. So it's just kind of man, Konami, just print it a lower rarity. Come on. Just make it a little easier for everyone. Because, moving a little bit further into the story, the backlash to this has been huge. It's reignited that, obviously, a lot of players don't like it, and it's reignited that conversation of, the haves and the have-nots, right? The proletariat and the bourgeoisie are back. And there's that conversation around.
I'm on the side of people this time, so I'll make that perfectly clear. I'm against the 1%.
Are you rich or are you poor? Can you afford it or can you not? And you've got the people who are saying they should have printed it common and blah 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 blah. But then there's also the people who are well, if you can't afford it, then Yu-Gi-Oh's not for you. You might as well quit or whatever. And there's people trying to walk the middle, and there's so many different angles. And I've seen Twitter arguments get a little nasty. People are insulting each other.
I will say this, guys. You gotta remember, before you jump into arguments about this, even though I know it's impossible to stop yourself, but just hear me out. Before you get into arguments about this, you gotta remember who you're arguing with. If it's a content creator, remember most competitive content creators, they can afford these cards. It's very easy for them.
They're going to get the
stances that they argue on are their own. It doesn't have to actually apply to you. And if you're arguing with a competitive player, they have to get and I'm talking about the true pros who top almost every event. Those guys, they have to get the cards. They will get the cards. It doesn't matter how expensive the cards are. It's a foregone conclusion that they're getting them.
Yeah.
Now, for the rest of us normal people, yes, I'm a content creator, but my pockets are very normal.
Yeah.
We don't have to really argue with them over this.
I think that it's I get what you're saying. I think a big problem that this kind of it's like a second problem to the first problem. The first problem is that this is expensive and like the average player kind of has a tough time getting it.
It's a pain.
The second part is that like there's a difference in the type of people that like play and are engaging with this card. Because like you said, okay, if you're a competitive player, like you're gonna have your bonfires. The cost was never a thing. They will have them. Meanwhile, though, it's like an accessibility thing, and it's kind of weird because people do look to their content creators to kind of advocate for these sorts of issues, right? Or they expect the content creator. It's a weird parasocial thing maybe creeping up there, where it's like, you know, the content creator is a reflection of me. Like they kind of stand for the little guy, or they should, or you know, they should.
I'm not naming any names, but there are many content creators who at least have posited and positioned themselves as voices of the people. That is true.
Yeah, so you know, you might want. Like, so, like, I've seen, like, arguments kind of back and forth around that. Like, that's some of what's popped up on Twitter. And there's also there's the crowd that kind of says, well, if you can't afford to play Yu-Gi-Oh, tough shit, right? Like, too bad, it's not for you. Like, some people will say that. Like, I think that's a very harsh angle to take, but...
For some reason, I can't get it out of my head. It's like there's some, like, 23-year-old saying it because they know the world.
Yeah, they get it.
They get it.
They get how things work. All right, we're getting off topic. The point is, what do we? I mean,
there's nothing we can do.
I mean, think that the best you hope for is that these pre-order prices are inflated, and maybe the reality is this card is like $80 instead of $130 or something.
I guess we can do what we always do. We try to vote. We try to be vocal with Konami about these things, you know, call it out in the spaces where we can without getting disrespectful or like racist. Let's not do that.
Yeah, people will get nasty.
Yeah, don't do that. But try to make your voices heard on these matters. Try to vote with your wallet a bit. You know, if you're not trying to compete with these cards, maybe just don't.
Just hold off a
just
bit.
Try.
Really
it's a pain. It's a pain.
That's the thing. That's like where the real issue comes in. It's like
we don't have a choice.
Yeah, like no one's making you buy the card. No one's making you buy Bonfire on TCG Player today, right? You don't have to do anything. But at the same time, it's fucking Rhoda for like Pyro. Like that's the problem I have with it is that this isn't them locking kind of a more complex or specific card. It's like a Rhoda for a type.
It's sad. It makes you wish Pyro never became meta because now it's an assault on the casual duelist. Because honestly, no one competed with Pyros before Snake Eyes came out. Yeah. Nobody was doing that. Any Pyro support that was on the horizon was for the casuals. Yeah, that's what we thought.
Yeah, it seemed that way, and then now it's different. I think so. Here's my kind of take on it is, you know, sometimes Konami will print a card and they'll reprint it weirdly soon after. I think they should do that with this card.
I agree.
I think this is one instance where Bonfire needs a printing within the next like 3 months afterwards, where it's pretty quick and it's just throw it into, make it if not a common, like a super in some weird other side set. I don't know. I don't think that this is the right card for them to be pulling this kind of a stunt with.
Agreed.
And I'm calling it pulling a stunt because we're 25 years in. Konami knows what it means to print a card like that at a time like this and a rarity like that.
They did it on purpose. It's completely contrived.
They knew going into it that the intention is for it to not be the easiest thing to pull. Fine, but like these side sets, that rarity, this timing. Snake Eyes is good. Like it's rough.
Like Konami just wants to move cases. That's all they care about, and they will take cards like this and put it at the forefront of the set to motivate you, the average consumer, to get as much product as you can, or you have to buy the singles.
Yeah, and again, you know, Konami does not make you buy a single, right? That is all on you. But I think that the pieces can be in place to allow a situation that we've seen so many times before just repeat itself.
So, Paul, I have a question.
Okay.
Is the situation with Bonfire better or worse than the current situation with Wanted?
I think it is worse. I think it's worse because Bonfire is Rhoda, whereas Wanted is like specific card for a specific archetype, and not everybody wants to necessarily is into Diabellstar or into that. But lots of people just might like a larger group of people just have a pyro deck, have a pyro thing.
On the bright side, though, it's only an ultra rare as compared to one a secret rare, right?
I don't know. Okay, so to be fair, I don't know how the exact rarity things shake out on these sets. Like, I don't know what is the pull rate for a Maze of Millenia Ultra compared to a secret rare in a mainline set. And I'm not like saying that as hyperbole. I actually don't know how those two things compare. My experience from Maze of Memories last year was that like a single box, I think, gave me 3 ultras. So I think it's kind of got that like Wild Survivors like kind of spin-off
that was
set
a fun
level
set
of
to
ultra.
pull.
So if that's the case, I don't know.
Well, maybe the set only has like 4 ultras.
I mean, we know
I'm
it's got,
wrong,
I think,
aren't
more
I?
than that.
I'm very
I
wrong.
mean, I don't know exactly how many off the top of my head.
Well, that's
but
weird. Because, see, in a main series set, there aren't... How many secrets do we usually get in a main series
mainline
set?
sets I think have like 8 secrets.
Like 8
I wanna
secrets.
say, yeah, so.
In your box, you could usually expect to get 2. And, you know, that's as about as fair as it gets in Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah, I mean, here, if you're getting like, I think on average, like 3 ultras out of a pool of, I want to say it's maybe like 12 or something, 16. It might be about what and what.
It might,
Like, it might
and
be.
hey, and allegedly, there's no more short printing in this game, so you should have a fair enough chance at pulling
shake.
it. But I feel bad because now it feels like I'm advocating for buying sealed products when this is all just kind of garbage.
I think that, what do you mean? Like just
The situation in general.
Yeah, it's
that's
a
like, hey
yucky
guys, pull the gotcha because it's your best chance of getting this card.
Yeah, and it's pretty, I mean, the last thing I'll say about it is that maybe at the end of the day, this is all just Yu-Gi-Oh! As intended. Like, this is all, this is card games as they're supposed to be, and Yu-Gi-Oh! As it's supposed to go, and like, you should just, this is what, when you play Yu-Gi-Oh! This is what you kind of sign up for. I hate that it is that way, but this is what it is. Like, you should not be any more surprised by this situation than you were by the same thing happening like last year with Barone or Thrust or anything. You know what I mean? And speaking of Thrust is also in this set as a reprint.
Hey.
And I think that's actually pretty cool. I don't know that, I think it's probably going to be obviously cheaper than Bonfire. Triple Tactics Thrust was getting up to about $100 at points last year. So this is a nice reprint announcement. I feel that it being Ultra is a little bit rough still. Like it would be nice if it was maybe like a Super or something. But it's still cool.
It's still a very impactful card. And if you are spinning the gotcha, trying to pull your Bonfires, you're undoubtedly going to get some thrusts along the way. Mm-hmm. I think for the most competitive players, they have their thrusts. But if you don't already have your thrusts, it does give you a decent enough reason to try and open a box or two.
And Junk Warrior also is the QCR in this.
Yeah,
there's a QCR.
I feel nothing for this.
Well, here's what's special about it, though. It does have an alternate art, which I know, like, if you don't care about Junk Warrior, well, whatever. But I'm going to call out one thing I like about it, which is that there's only one QCR in this set, and that's it.
Oh, good.
And I think that's probably... I've kind of been advocating a bit more for, like, only, like, one QCR in a lot of these sets.
It is weird that the QCR is a very random card in this case.
I don't know what Junk Warrior has to do with, like... thematically Maze of Millenia. That feels kind of DM feeling. I don't know. I think they might just be kind of trying to like slip in.
Just trying to get that card out.
Just kind of slip in a few of these like alt art ace monsters into random products in the hopes that it just works out.
Because they did it this way, I'm assuming that means we shouldn't expect any major synchro or 5Ds related products in the next year. At least because it would have been easier to slip it in there, I would think.
Yeah, you would think so. So that's Maze of Millenia. I will be purchasing a couple of boxes on my own dime, as I do.
I will be also.
Yeah, I'm going to try to open them, see what we get. We'll see how it goes. I want to build Flame Swordsman for definitely like a theme duel of some kind.
I have a Snake Eye deck, so I'm locked in.
Yeah, Alec is kind of forced into the matter. And I would love to pick up a few Thrusts. I don't have any copies of it myself.
That'd be cool.
So, I will gladly take them.
If I pull thrusts and you pull bonfires, can I trade you my thrust?
Yeah, we'll
for
have to
your bonfire?
trade.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I don't have.
Don't worry about the. We won't worry about the dollar.
Yeah, we won't worry about
that.
the dollar.
We won't worry about that.
Okay, moving on. Master Duel got an update, so that's pretty cool.
I have to break some news to the audience.
Oh, okay.
All right, guys. So last week I did say that I was going to play Master Duel, build super heavies, and play with all the new support and have a good time. I didn't know at the time that I lied. I did, but I want to make this clear. I did try to make good on it last night, but Master Duel was in maintenance.
Yeah, you thought that they were probably coming out a day or two before this.
Yeah, so
as of the time of when the viewers hear this, they'll have been accessing stuff for like 24 hours or more. But
I'm going to do it. Like it's on everything.
So yeah, the big update is out. The ban list is in effect. The one that we talked about a few weeks back. But also some new cards are in the game. So obviously you can get like more Dynamorphia cards. They're introducing Transcendosaurus. Those two types can even kind of be played together in some cases because they're both dinosaurs.
They are both dinosaurs.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, those Dynamorphia dinosaurs, they cute. I don't know what's that's about. Like,
yeah. There's also Millenia is introduced.
Oh yeah.
So that's pretty cool. Some more Visas cards and Super Heavy Samurai. What do you mean by cute?
What?
Dynamorphia?
Yeah.
I always found them kind of like threatening looking.
Really?
Yeah.
That like compared to like Ultimate Conductor Tyranno, like that girl is pretty cute. I was like, wow, that's a cute dinosaur.
Interesting.
What?
Well,
I'm wrong.
Anyways, they added a new mate,
I'm just wrong.
Soul Eating Oviraptor, which actually I thought that was a pretty cool idea for a mate.
Disagree.
What would you have preferred?
Like the baby Ceratosaurus or the petite Pteranodon.
You know what? You're right. That actually would have made it better.
But I think that's because I lean towards the idea of your mate should look more like a mascot and more in a more traditional sense. They seem to just want to make any cool monster into a mate.
Yeah, they have been changing the mates from cute mascot to just like part of the whatever kind of a crucial card of given archetype.
Now every deck Stratos is going to be a mate. Oh God, wait a minute. Stratos is a mate, isn't he?
Yeah.
Every Stratos will be a mate.
That's kind of common. Like a lot of the Stratos cards. Hanzo got one. So.
Hanzo's a mate.
Either way, yeah. So we have a soul-eating Oviraptor mate. It says a dinosaur shrouded in a soul-eating aura. Those who see the strange patterns on its body and the maniacal look in its eyes are overwhelmed.
What does that mean?
You know what's kind of funny about the Master Duel like descriptions for mates and stuff is they tend to seem like kind of rough translations. Like it was written in Japanese and then it's kind of like roughly translated into English, and so it will sort of say like the sentence will just end abruptly. Like, you know, those who see the strange patterns on its body and the maniacal look in its eyes are overwhelmed. Like it just feels like it kind of ends on a bit of a like, oh yeah, okay.
It's like, and it's an effect monster, so we have no lore on it. So this was a chance to like give us something to like know about this monster, and all that is a deconstruction of its name and the artwork.
Yeah, soul eating Oviraptor. Well, anyway, there's also Pendulum sleeves, Pendulum Green. They released.
Is that like that radial burst kind of thing? Oh yeah, they printed those. They have RRL OCG sleeves like that.
Yeah, a lot of those IRL OCG sleeves have been put into Master Duel. Different ones with like monsters on them, different attribute based ones. Mm-hmm. Shame that we can't get those in the TCG for the 25th anniversary, Konami.
Well, shops have been importing them. That's how I bought mine.
Yeah, but when the shops import them, you have to pay like $25 because they imported it.
This is Yu-Gi-Oh. We spend a lot of money regardless.
Well, see, the thing is, Konami, I really do think like that's like a. You know, like we get on this podcast, like seriously, like we get on this podcast. And we'll talk about like these like kind of sweeping things Yu-Gi-Oh can do, right? Mm-hmm. Like changing rarity distributions or introducing these alt formats. And like realistically, a lot of that stuff ain't gonna happen. It's Konami; they're gonna just they're gonna get by. But I think that like importing attribute sleeves, like here's the water ones, here's the fire, like that feels like kind of an easy.
The more simple you make it, the more complex it becomes for them. I have no idea why. It just seems to be the case.
There's a super heavy samurai prodigy Wakaushi icon that you can purchase. A dreaming Nemalaria icon, so it's the girl, she's asleep. An icon depicting a girl having sweet dreams. A dreamy state in a strange world, but some kind of amazing power lurks within.
That's
like ZZ.
That's a strange icon. Guys, let me know if you buy the Millenia icon and why you did it.
Yeah, and for the Super Heavy Samurai, it says, an icon depicting something lingering in a moonlit parapet with two colored eyes. The sight of it flying about gallantly in unwavering duels reminds one of a gifted prodigy.
So, you know what's hilarious about that? You said the name of it, and I couldn't bring up its appearance in my head. And you just read its description, which describes the artwork, and I still have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, either way, it's this. So.
Ah, what?
Yeah, there's an Earth icon frame, an Earth deck box that you can purchase, and another the other selection pack has like the Visa stuff and all that stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of new stuff in Master Duel. I have not actually gotten a chance to play. I wanted to play last night when the update was like just gone live, but I fell asleep. So
you did play some Fortnite though.
Yeah, I tried out some Fortnite. That was fun.
We got them, guys.
Fortnite racing mode. That was cool. But yeah. So this will all be in Master Duel. I'm interested in seeing how the meta shakes up. Everyone's saying that like Super Heavy Samurai is going to kind of be the next big thing. I'm a little disappointed to hear that because I know that it's not really the Super Heavy Samurai that like Gong would be proud of. It's
you're not playing any spells.
Yeah, it's more of a just combo pile.
It's an insane combo fest.
But it's cool. So hop on Master Duel, check it out, have some fun with it if you got the time and interest to do so. I think that's all for Yu-Gi-Oh.
Let me double check.
At least majorly that I have seen.
Yeah. I think we covered everything I had.
Yeah, Maze of Millenia, by the way, will be out next week. So get your pre-orders in and attempt to pull those bonfires. Okay.
Go.
With Yu-Gi-Oh out of the way, we can get into some other stories.
There are more card games than just Yu-Gi-Oh. I know this pod would have you thinking otherwise, but there are.
Yeah, hit me with the good stuff. What's a card game story to start us off?
All right, so
because I've got one.
It's a big one, like hard hitting.
Well, yeah, but We'll start.
All right. So Dexerto put out this article. It's really someone writing
Dexerto.
They're writing about a Reddit thread, and
these are great.
Anyway, but it's
we can't give them that much crap. We've done that on here. We just read Reddit threads for content.
Yeah, but at least they're like writing it and putting their name as an author. Like anyway, so Pokemon TCG player shares the hard truths about collecting. Because like we all know, collecting Pokemon cards is one of the biggest, most booming things in the TCG space. Many people get into it because they love Pokemon. Many get into it because they heard they can make a quick buck on it.
Well, I would like to hear the hard truths.
Well, on this Reddit thread, they are going to share the truth of it all.
Yeah, I'm waiting. I'm with bated breath for the truth about the Pokemon TCG.
All right, so check this out. A user on the Pokemon TCG Reddit created a thread about the hard pills that need to be swallowed when collecting Pokemon TCG cards. These include base set cards not being worth much, Charizard being overpriced, and Reddit posts about opening god tier pulls being faked for attention.
Initially speaking, I believe all three are true.
Other users also had advice to share. This is a quote. The reason base set and other older sets are super valuable is because very few people kept sealed products safe for 20 plus years, and there just isn't much of it to go around. Mm-hmm. Storing cases of modern sets with the intent to sell them in 20 plus years won't net you as much as you're hoping because there are thousands of other people doing it right now.
That's very true. That's a big thing around like just we've talked about on this podcast before is like the reason why old stuff is valuable is because no one knew. Mm-hmm. So like the Yu-Gi-Oh kind of equivalent is like 10,000 Dragon, for instance, when that like came out. That's not, I mean, you know, it isn't going to be like if you're opening it and immediately like keeping it in pristine condition and getting it graded, that's fine for yourself personally. But like you shouldn't really expect it to become like...
It's not going to make you a millionaire.
You know, a millionaire in like 10 years.
Because everyone that has a 10,000 Dragon is holding it, keeping it in pristine condition.
So I can see why in Pokemon it kind of is the same thing. Like just buying a Paldean Fates or whatever the sets are called. Like, you know, that's not... Yeah, like because everyone's kind of trying that. So.
They say also Pokemon card investing is for people who are already rich. one user said. You're going to need the time, capital, and storage space to buy cases and hold for 5 to 10 years.
That's very true. Yeah, I think it reminds me again of a Yu-Gi-Oh thing where there's a lot of players that I've seen, just in my years, who kind of want to be, the wannabe vendor, where they kind of hear of the idea of vending as a way to make a quick buck. I buy a card for $4 and sell it for $6.
Hey, the basics of economics.
But
or commerce.
The capital needed to start that is huge. It's honestly the same thing as investing normally would be. Buying one stock of one company doesn't really mean much of anything.
Yeah, it won't make you rich. I guess
company.
It could, but it's unlikely.
But it's the people who can buy 50 shares in this company or
that's
something.
That's how you grow wealth.
Right? That's kind of the big thing. So yeah, I can see where in Pokemon it's sort of the same story. Do you have the kind of just ability to actually buy the amount of cases or whatever needed to get all these cards and move them and store them and all that? So checks out.
This person goes on to say, at which point you better effing hope that the sales prices, less shipping and fees, beats inflation. It's been almost 4 years and I can still get Vivid Voltage boxes under MSRP. Not every set is going to be Evolving Skies.
Right. Well, I always say those words as though we know what was in those sets or something.
Actually, I do. Vivid Voltage came out right around the time I took an interest in the game.
Okay,
it had a weird Pikachu in it.
Yeah, no, one had a Charizard.
I don't know.
I'm not saying that in a generic
that's every set.
way,
I don't know what to say.
But I do remember there was one around that time. I think that had a Charizard card that was kind of talked about. What had a Charizard?
Yeah, there's something about those generic things you hear about the news, local boy pulls a Charizard.
And it turns out it's a $2 one from. Anyway, yeah, no, that makes sense. I think that what a lot of people are finding is just that shipping costs and stuff like that does add up. That kind of goes in back to that second point where you can pull. If I open a Yu-Gi-Oh pack today and it costs me $4 or whatever, $4.50, and I pull a $10 card from it, let's say.
Yeah.
It seems good because I made my money back, but I didn't actually make my money back until I've actually made the money from it. The card kind of sitting in my hand, I still have to find a person who's willing to buy it, which can be difficult, and then I have to transport it to that person. Whether that means going to locals and giving it to them at a small price of gas and time, whatever, or having to sell it online on TCG Player or eBay, at which point I've got to now pay shipping
and fees
and seller fees. And, at that point, is the $9 or $10 card getting me $9 or $10?
Not even
It might be getting me closer to $6 after everything. So, yeah, there's something there.
In order to build make this a company and build wealth off of something like this, the scale you have to operate in means your overhead will be quite large. Because storing a few cards is one thing. Storing enough cards to actively have a business is a whole other thing. You need space. It has to be climate controlled.
Oh, for sure.
Then you're going to need envelopes on envelopes, top loaders on top loaders.
And likely a couple of employees.
It's not a one-person thing.
To mail stuff out. And suddenly, you realize that, this whole vendor thing isn't, this huge lucrative business. It's kind of more of
it's a business.
You're getting by, so.
So it's a normal business.
Anyways, what else do our Reddit friends have to say?
Let's see.
Our Redditors.
I'm trying to open up the actual Reddit thread, but it's fighting me.
I honestly think those were some really nice highlights, just if you wanted to.
Okay, here we go. So, your base set cards aren't worth nearly as much as people make you think they are. On the other hand, your e-reader cards are worth a lot more than you think they are. Charizard in any form will always be overpriced. Ripping packs might be fun, but it's by no means a smart way of finishing a set. It also encourages a gambling and spending addiction. Your V cards are basically bulk. The majority of Reddit posts bragging about opening a God pack are staged for attention. And these were the bullet points of the initial post. I wish that they'd gone into detail.
The staging part is kind of an interesting one.
But that's just Reddit. Everyone just fakes things on there.
Yeah, people lie. Sorry, go ahead.
I just remember when I didn't know that, and you were like, "Yeah, everything on Reddit's fake."
Oh yeah, what were you on? Am I the asshole? Or
Yeah,
whatever.
that one.
Ita.
All those, all like, it felt like most of the posts on there, they were just faking it to.
Yeah, people fabricate and they lie and they. I think the times that I most doubt Reddit is like us kind of tangenting a little, but like the times I most doubt Reddit are when like it'll be like on some Ask Reddit thread or whatever, and someone will come in and be like, as a doctor, I can attest that this thing is true or not true, and I'm just like. Sure, you're a fucking doctor. Sure, you are. Like, okay.
And I'm the prime minister.
Because like anyone can just claim expertise on a subject. Like, oh, I'm a doctor. I work in this field. Oh, I work in, and you can say that to like kind of try to give yourself credibility in these like Reddit arguments, and you'll see people get exposed sometimes. Like,
well, as a lawyer, I can let you guys know who's right and who's wrong in this argument.
So, but getting back to the Pokemon thing, I do think that people faking those, like, I got a God pack, me, a regular normal guy, just like bought one pack today at Target and it had everything.
And the thing is, like, resealing packs is actually an easy thing to do. It's not all that hard. You need a few materials, you need some glue, and you need to carefully open the pack in the first place.
Tell us more about it, Alec.
But I mean, I've never done it.
I was joking, but no, but yeah, resealing's pretty normal and apparently more common in Pokemon than in any other game.
Because like the opening community in Pokemon is so large, you can garner so much attention for opening up rare cards. Many people think it's worth it.
It's also like a social media thing too. Like I'm sure it's not just Reddit. I mean, like there's just lots of YouTubers, Poke like opening channels that just kind of like it. There's a certain amount of like playing it up for the camera, right? Mm-hmm. Like your favorite content creator probably opened mini packs before they got the big pack, and they only like edited the video such that like the big pack was the only thing you saw them open, or like they kind of crafted a story where it's like. Bad pulls, promising pull, bad pulls, promising pull, bad pulls. Whoa, big moment.
Right at the 8-minute mark in the video.
Yeah, right where I can add mid-rolls or something like that. So,
and we're not specifically.
Yeah, I'm not like targeting anybody. Here's the thing. I've done my fair share of like clickbait. I've stretched a video to 8 minutes before to add ads, and I
haven't. I just want you guys to know that.
Sure.
Whenever Paul's like, "Can you hit the 8-minute mark?" I always says, "No, I can't. I can't do it."
Right. So I think that this Reddit thread, though, like these people are making totally valid points and ones that I would actually say to be like serious for a moment. If you are trying to get into like opening Pokemon packs, like this is all advice worth heeding.
Yeah.
So, and this is from somebody who I don't even open Pokemon packs. I open like some Yu-Gi-Oh packs, and I know it's the same story.
You're not going to make your fortune opening up TCG products. That's just not going to happen.
You're really not, yeah.
Like, the ship has sailed, like with like the crypto boom and everything else. Once someone has made $1 million doing something, I promise you no one else is going to be able to do that.
Yeah, not that. You can't just replicate that for sure. Okay, well, I've got a story.
All right, what you got?
So, I got a little bit of AI. I know you're typically the one to bring the AI story.
Allen Iverson?
But this time around,
this isn't
it's going to
about
be me.
AI.
It's Wizards of the Coast, our friends.
Oh.
They're back in the news for a story that actually had started when we recorded last week's podcast, but we did not talk about it. Mm-hmm. Wizards of the Coast admits using AI art after banning AI art. So this happened on X or Twitter.
Oh, my favorite website.
I did not actually see this as a like news headline, but rather I organically saw the post on X. It showed up on my feed in some form or another from the Wizards of the Coast account, and it was like somebody quote tweeting it, and they were like, "This is like AI bullshit." And I was like, "Okay, what are they talking about? What is this?" Well, let's see here. Let's see how the article puts it. Magic the Gathering publisher Wizard of the Coast has been forced to admit that it published a marketing image for the game featuring, quote, some AI components, unquote. Despite an initial insistence that the art was, quote, created by humans and not AI. Wizard of the Coast had banned the use of AI artwork in its products in 2023 after AI-generated artwork appeared in a Dungeons & Dragons sourcebook and caused an outcry.
And that was only a few months ago.
So yeah, the image, which has since been deleted, was posted on X by the official Magic the Gathering account on January 4th. It showed 5 magic cards resting on a valve-powered device next to a pressure gauge.
Oh, okay, that picture.
Yeah, in a brass and wood-filled steampunk laboratory setting. The caption for it said, "It's positively shocking how good these lands look in retro frame," the post read. So while that picture has since been deleted, of course, it's still been on the internet. I will find it and I'll try to remember to put it in the podcast so everybody here or like watching the video can see. The image has been deleted now, but yeah, many fans were quick to point out elements in the image that bore the hallmarks of generative AI. In particular, difficulty rendering fine details in a consistent way, around bunches of cables, for example, or on the dial of the pressure gauge. But the Magic account initially dismissed these claims. They said, this is on January 6th, I believe. "We understand the confusion by fans given the style being different than the card art, but we stand by our previous statement," the publisher replied. In another since deleted post, "This art was created by humans and not AI."
They doubled down.
Yeah, so they doubled down. People kept calling them out. They were like, "Are you guys really are you really trying this?" People are pointing out, here, this doesn't fit. Here, this line is like blurred and weird. Here, this like detail smudges. And Wizards of the Coast insists again that like this is real. A human made this. A few days later, Wizards of the Coast acknowledged that it had been mistaken. Well, we made a mistake earlier when we said that a marketing image we posted was not created using AI.
Now it's a marketing image.
Yeah. As you, our diligent community, pointed out, it looks like some AI components that are now popping up in industry standard tools like Photoshop crept into our marketing creative.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, even if a human did the work to create the overall image. The publisher continued, "While the art came from a vendor, it's on us to make sure that we are living up to our promise to support the amazing human ingenuity that makes Magic great. We already made clear that we require artists, writers, and creatives contributing to the Magic TCG to refrain from using AI generative tools to create final Magic products."
I need you to do something for me, Paul.
Yes.
I need you to go back to the tweet before that and just read it aloud one more time about them claiming it wasn't AI.
"We understand the confusion by fans given the style being different than the card art, but we stand by our previous statement," the publisher replied. "This art was created by humans and not AI."
Okay, so that's the thing. So in that post, and I think the initial post before it, they referred to it as art.
Yeah.
They were aligning themselves with this picture and putting their foot down. This is Magic the Gathering art.
Yeah.
But in this latest tweet,
yeah, some words change a little bit.
Is it now what they call it?
It's a marketing image.
A marketing image.
Yeah, it is a marketing image and not art. And also you'll notice a few other words have kind of changed. Like I noticed that they kind of say "our diligent community pointed out." So as though to kind of suggest, yeah, like you guys are doing such a bang up job,
guys.
Even though like, just yesterday we claimed that you are all wrong.
We were trying to gaslight y'all.
Yeah, there was definitely a little bit of gaslighting. And then they also kind of mention how like these are components that are now popping up in industry standard tools like Photoshop.
Now they're blaming the platforms.
Which kind of makes it, yeah, that kind of seems like a bit of like a shrugging it off on like, well, everyone's doing it. The industry's doing it because this is like an industry standard. Photoshop is just doing it, so everyone's been using Photoshop.
Like, I don't know how many of you guys use Photoshop. Paul's used it quite a bit. I've used it much less. But I can tell you this. Photoshop doesn't like load in AI into your pictures. It doesn't just like magically AI your work.
Yeah, that's the thing. Photoshop has generative AI tools. And I think that, which I'll get into later, is I think that using them is not a sin, right?
But you have to choose to use them.
Yeah, I have used like Photoshop, some of Photoshop's generative AI tools. Yeah, I know. So the thing isn't like using him. I think it's the denial thing, and maybe just more of like the community response and then like Wizards' response and kind of that back and forth thing instead of just like kind of acknowledging it. Like, I'll get into that in a second. But to finish their statement, they say that some AI components cropped up into our marketing creative, even if a human did the work to create the overall image. So that sort of suggests that like a human made some parts of it and not others. They don't go into detail about what that is, since there's so many parts of the image that like when you look at it seem like it's all just a prompt. And the only human part was like literally the card images being placed in there. Like, yeah. So it's like, I get what they mean. Like a human composited the final thing.
He did the last 5%.
But like, so
The
Go ahead.
Yeah, I remember that image, and the thing is, if any of that image was AI generated, 90% of it had to have been AI generated because it had that uncanny quality that you get from those AI generated images.
Yeah.
Parts were really sharp, and the lighting was really perfect in places.
Then there's other parts where it's like smudgy or inconsistent shadows.
Yeah.
Details that kind of like distort.
It really felt like a human put the card images in, and this is funny because it was the first thing I noticed when I saw it. I didn't notice that it was AI work before them. Of course, the one human component has human error in it because the image was supposed to be marketing the Shocklands being reprinted in Ravnica Remastered, but the card's actually in the image that some person chose to put in there. Like, I forget, like half of them weren't even Shocklands.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Just for no reason, they put the wrong cards in.
Yeah, no, I don't know anything about that because I don't play Magic, so I can't speak.
I just love that
if that was right or wrong.
It was wrong.
But yeah, I know that it is. There is some irony in like even that maybe not being
the one human part.
So they say now we're evaluating how we work with vendors on creative product or on creative beyond our products, like these marketing images, to make sure that we're living up to those values. So there is a bit of like kind of throwing someone else a little under the bus.
Yeah.
Like we contracted with a vendor to make this image.
They're the ones who made the mistake.
You know, made the thing, and they just assured us that it was like not AI. And AI generated it. All right, so in a separate statement posted the same day on the Magic website, Wizard said that it wants to, quote, get better at understanding whether and how AI is used in the creative process. The company added that we can't promise to be perfect in such a fast-evolving space, especially with generative AI becoming standard in tools such as Photoshop, but our aim is to always come down on the side of human-made art and artists. So, yeah, that's the story. What are our personal thoughts on this?
So we can't actually avoid AI art finding its way into like big business, like marketing materials and whatnot. It would be great if everything these companies use was made by humans, but we can't control them all. We can't make them all abide by that. However, because Wizards of the Coast runs a trading card game, and trading cards are known for having art drawn by people, the art is a very large part of the game.
Yeah.
They need to be more accountable and much more careful with that. I think this is one of the few places where it's completely unacceptable to use AI art.
Okay. So a hard stance you've got there. I think that my bigger issue with it, well, I've got two. First of all, I think that I'm largely with you. Like, I think that using AI art in Magic the Gathering, a game that has historically used just human man-made art or whatever, and credited its artist on the cards, that's something that a lot of people cite as like kind of one of the things Yu-Gi-Oh should start doing, perhaps. I think that to start using AI art would feel very like yucky.
Yeah.
It'd feel very dishonest and just kind of wrong and a slap in the face, because you know someone has now lost a job because of that. Whoever would have gotten the commission to do the art on this cool looking card now did not get it. So I don't really like that. I know you talked about that last week, but I also think that I guess the bigger thing for me is just that it's that gaslighting element of it where they double down. Like I don't like, there are going to be companies that will make AI imagery and have zero shame about it, but also they will be the same. They will be companies that probably don't care. Like, you'll just know. They'll let you know. Like, I don't have that much of a problem with a company that's just like, you will see. So, okay, when there's like these accounts that say like, this is just an AI art account on Twitter or whatever, and it just generates art of stuff every day. I actually don't like have or images of stuff every day. I don't have a problem with it, actually. I don't have a problem with an account that just says that it's AI art, because then you or I or whoever, if you don't like AI art, you can choose to avoid it. You can block the account. You can not engage with it. But the account itself is not lying to you. It is not. It's not misrepresenting anything. It is not lying about like what it is that it made or what it's offering or whatever. I think with Wizards of the Coast, in the past several months now, they've had so many run-ins with AI, And then they've made these statements where it's like, no, we're not using AI. It's not allowed. We won't use it in Dungeons and Dragons, or we won't use it in Magic. And then you get into these like little nitty gritty wording choices, like AI will not be present in the final delivered product.
Right.
So that means that it will probably be used in some stage of ideation or drafting. And as I've said in the past, I don't have a problem with AI for ideation because I do that. So it wouldn't be, fair of me to say that. But it's just like, I think Wizards is slowly but steadily finding themselves, and Hasbro, I guess, too, in the AI art conversation in a negative light.
Yeah, consistently.
And then every time they do it and do this double down thing,
makes it worse.
It's it's boy who cried wolf in a weird way. Like, just, you cannot continue to insist to people that like you've got these like strong moral ethical stances around AI use, but then when there's AI use, the first response is to gaslight people and deny it when like everyone's saying it. Like, so here's the thing, right? It's not that I don't know when you saw everybody saying that, you should have taken a look and like investigated then, and not put out the statement that just said, nope, it's just not AI. We know you guys are all wrong. Like, it's like a weird, like, if it was AI and people found out it was AI, then that middle tweet was not needed.
I think this was, because I have a theory of how that went. I think the typical Twitter manager for Wizards of the Coast was at the helm that day. And I think that normally they tweet without too much oversight. And so when they started getting a bit of like buzz around that marketing image, their first instinct was, oh, it's probably no big deal. I won't say anything. It built up a little bit. So they're like, okay, I'll make a statement. He probably just asked like one person real quick, hey, somebody made this, right? And they were like, yeah, they did.
Yeah.
And so he made their little statement. Yeah, no one admitted. Nope, this isn't an AI art. A person made this. And then I think it built up to a point when somebody above them stepped in and they're like, all right, look, we actually have a problem.
Yeah, and I think that's, so again, for me, I already don't really care too much for like a lot of these like AI generated images, but I'm willing to admit that like AI, it has a place, it's got a use, and it would be unfair of me to say that it should all just like disappear because I have used it for things, right? Like, I've used ChatGPT for stuff. I use Google Bard pretty often now to like explain concepts to me, or like kind of better like contextualize like what does a word mean or something like that.
It's horrific. I don't even know who I'm talking to right now.
Yeah, that's right. Alex never used
Not
AI
I with my
textual.
subscription to ChatGPT.
Yeah, so and the thing is, I'm not suggesting that like, that the concept of using AI is bad. I think that it's just be upfront about it. Like, there's a world, and I know it doesn't exist today, and this might be a bit of a hot take, but there's a world where we could actually all kind of enjoy the idea of AI imagery if it was like, so what if, like, I'm going to reframe this whole tweet, right? What if it was reframed as just, hey, we imagined, like, how would this look? How would these cards look in this setting? And, like, we plugged into AI and, like, kind of put it out there and, like, here's what it came out with. What do you guys think? I still think that the response would probably be largely negative because the internet kind of seems a little opposed to AI.
Yeah,
but like,
I don't think it will
but I
follow
think that
well.
at least if you own up to it and like you kind of say from the jump, like this is what it is,
It's still a soft contradiction to the hard stance they put out themselves.
But yeah, see,
months
they
ago.
can't. Yeah, and they can't really do that because they've been making these hard statements about like you can't use it here, you can't use it here. I know that there's the Laura Croft or Tomb Raider thing apparently got some controversy. People were saying one of the promotional images for that used AI.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if that ever got proven if it did or not, but that was right around the time that they made kind of another stance around AI. And with
People
magic
seem to be pretty good at I think like actual artists are really good at identifying AI art. They seem pretty like 10 for 10 on like spotting the stuff.
Yeah, so I know that AI art's obviously gonna always be. It's gonna be a contentious one.
It'll be difficult to deal with, that's for sure.
So where I land on it is that I just think that the gaslighting part was not very tasteful.
And my landing is AI art has no business in trading card games. I honestly I don't think it has any place in existence. But we can't undo the fact that it exists. So I think we should just keep it out of spaces where traditional art is the medium and is king.
Yeah, it's gonna be a rough one. In for a fight. Okay, well that is all for the fun, happy Wizards of the Coast news.
Yay!
Any other card game things?
Yeah, so I was looking at some Pokemon news, and this jumped out at me. They are bringing back a type of Pokemon card for their next set. Let me try and get the name of this set correct. Temporal Forces.
Temporal? There's temporal forces?
Temporal Forces.
Temporal forces? Okay.
What?
It's a pronunciation thing.
Temporal.
No, you're fine. Go ahead. Continue.
Is that not how it's pronounced?
Carry on.
No, we're going to stop the pod right here and have this out.
Temporal.
Okay, see, now I feel like, okay,
The listeners can weigh in.
You can decide. No, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So check it out. So in this next set, we're getting these A-Spec cards.
A-Spec.
These aren't actually new, or at least there might be a new A-Spec card, but the concept isn't actually new in the Pokemon TCG. It's these very powerful, I think, trainer and item cards that you can only have one of in a deck.
Oh.
And they're being reprinted and reintroduced into the, what's it called? The rotating format with TempOral. Ugh, that doesn't even feel right to say. Forces.
I mean...
And I was gonna look at it because what caught my eye was there's a Master Ball, and it's such a Yu-Gi-Oh card.
What does it do?
Search your deck for a Pokemon, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck.
Yeah. Oh boy, this is gonna be a fun, quick one. This always just brings me back to that whole like reading cards from other card games as a Yu-Gi-Oh player is insane. Pokemon has so many weird cards where it's just like draw 7 or something. It'll be like discard your hand and draw 7, or just. All the balls, like the Ultra Ball, Quick Ball, and those sorts of things, like Great Ball, they all kind of have effects like that, where it's just get a basic Pokemon in your hand, or just get like a whatever. It's like it's funny. Here we are paying $130 for Bonfire, a generic spell equivalent that searches like one certain type in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's a huge deal for us that this card exists. It's going to like be game defining, and then meanwhile, like in Pokemon, Quick Ball searches. Whatever from your deck, like
it comes in multiple rarities where depending on what your budget is, you can just get one.
Let's not go down that road.
I'm just saying.
I know.
If you have a high budget, you can go get the gold. You can get the gold one. And if you have a low budget, you can go get that common one. Yep. They can do that.
Listen, I know, but no, I mean you're
right.
What
works for them won't work for us.
That's right.
We're different countries. Games.
Yeah, we're different games. Yeah, I mean, listen, that's cool. Master Ball sounds like a fun card to use. Anything else to the story?
No, just that they have they're bringing back a cool type of card to the Pokemon TCG, the A-Spec cards.
So the fact that you can only use one kind of sounds neat.
Yeah, then I think I saw like 4 or 5.
You can use up to 4 copies of a card in Pokemon, correct?
Mm-hmm. But these cards are especially powerful.
So running a one-off seems like you might never see it.
You might not ever see it, but they're strong. Like I saw one that gives your Pokemon an extra 100 HP.
Oh.
So that can take that, there's so many breakpoints in HP in Pokemon where you can get one hit KO'd. Mm-hmm. And that can take a Pokemon clear out of one hit KO like territory and make someone like quite strong.
Although, even though you're running only one of these cards, I guess when you have shit that draws 7, maybe you do see it a lot.
Hey.
Like maybe it's not that hard to see a one-off when you're just drawing like 6 or something.
I guess the idea is, once you use it, it's gone now. You
gotta make it count. So cool. Yeah, I don't play too much Pokemon, but I can tell from the sound of just the Master Ball effect and the plus 100 HP. Good cards.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Will I play it? Maybe not, but I'll definitely try and collect a Master Ball.
Yeah, who wouldn't want to grab one?
I want a Master Ball.
I bet it's going to have
I'm going to collect it, and I'm going to store it, and I'm going to sell it.
I bet it's going to actually have like a really glittery foil version that will probably be worth a little pretty penny.
It'll look great.
Any other card game things?
Yeah, I got a Digimon one.
Okay. We don't hear about that too much.
We got a Digimon ban list update.
Oh, again?
Yeah, but it's a weird one. It's unique.
Okay.
So we actually already knew about this from the Japanese format. We're getting our first conditional ban.
Oh, like how in Duel Links and stuff, like it's like that.
It's similar
if
to
you're
that.
using this, then you can't use that, or you can only use one of these two things. Or
So we have a banned pair announcement is the exact wording they're using. So in this
banned pair?
Banned pair.
Okay, cool.
So in this next set, we're getting a new tamer called Sayo and Co. They're like two tamers on one card. And they have a particular effect. I'll just read it real quick. It's their, I think, beginning of opponent's start of opponent's turn effect. The where is it? Do I have to blow it up to read it? That's lame. I'd rather not have to do it this way. Anyway, Sayo and Kim lets you, at the start of your opponent's turn, play one of your Digimon that has the level of one of your other Digimon. That's a short way of saying it. But essentially, you get to play a Digimon at the start of your opponent's turn. Well, there's actually a bunch of cards that will gain you a memory if a Digimon gets played by effect on your opponent's turn. So what can happen is this. Sayo and Kim, so you pass turn and give your opponent one memory. Sayo and Kim activates because their turn is starting. You play a Digimon, and then another card activates to give you a memory, putting it back to your turn.
That ends your opponent's turn. Oh my goodness, that's brutal.
And so it's the promo Zubamon. It is BT13 Keenan Crier, and it's Starter Deck 16 Matt Ishida. All these cards will be able to give you a memory when you play a card, some specifically during your opponent's turn.
So there's a handful of cards then that exist that this new card has unintended interactions with. And so they're conditionally banning. So how's it work? How's the ban work?
You are not, if you use A is Sayo and Co., then you are not allowed to use B, which is those three, Zubamon, Keenan, and Matt. So you can use, these cards are all legal to be used separately. And you can use the B cards together if you want. That doesn't matter. Yeah. But you can't play them with A, which is Sayo and Co.
Your thoughts on this?
So my thoughts, I think it's a solid banning because if you play against that, you will have an extremely horrible time. That is not a situation that's really easy to interact with, and it's stupid easy to set up. Tamers are the hardest things to play around and counter in the game. There are ways to do it, but not every deck, not every color even has a way of doing it. And your opponent can just set you up in a situation where you may never get a turn again.
Yeah, that's what I was saying is it kind of sounds like an infinite loop. It's, it's pretty brutal. I think, especially for a game like Digimon, like that has, I'm sure it's had its like kind of broken formats or whatever, but probably prided itself on not having that level of, like a turn skip type of thing. Just straight up, like automatic, your opponent's turn starts and then it ends sort of effects.
Right. I forgot. I can just read their write-up on it. That would have been a little bit easier. So it says, it has been discovered that by combining the start of opponent's turn effect of EX6 Sayo and Co. and the on-play effect of P97 Zubamon, it is repeatedly possible to gain memory and immediately end the opponent's turn. This can be set up quickly, and once set up, it is difficult to interfere with, and the game will end with the opponent unable to participate at all. The intended experience is based on turns going back and forth and both players getting to play cards. So we've decided that this is not healthy for the game and due to how fast and consistently this combination can be used. In addition, we've identified that the same combination also works with BT13 Keenan Crier and Starter Deck 16 Matt Ishida. For the above reasons, we have decided to ban these cards, Zubamon, Keenan Crier, and Matt Ishida, from being included in decks that include Sayo and Co.
This is pretty cool. I know some other card games I think have done this in the past, but this is my first time hearing about it from Digimon, and it certainly makes me think of, again, like a Yugioh sort of angle where a lot of people want conditional ban lists to be a thing in Yugioh as well, where like, okay, you can't use X but only if you're using Y or whatever, right? Or if you're using X, you can't use like any like Y, Z or whatever. And I think it's pretty cool. I think that it makes sense in this situation for Digimon. I've always felt like for Yu-Gi-Oh! It'd be a little harder to enforce that. Not to enforce one of those rules.
We need
but
to
like
enforce
with Yu-Gi-Oh!
Many.
There would probably just be a a handful of them, and I'm trying to think of like an easy example. Like just if you're running like some common engine, then maybe you can't run a certain boss of it.
I mean, Konami specifically keeps us away from like infinite looping things as much as humanly possible. I think we don't give them enough credit. Konami's level of testing these cards before they release is probably unmatched in card gaming.
Yeah, you don't know that, like people will kind of joke about like, oh my god, how did Konami print this broken ass card? What a lot of people don't know is that if a card's like just generally strong, that was intentional.
Yeah, like
they know exactly how strong the cards are. The thing is, though, is from my slightly increased exposure to other card games the last couple of years, I have found that not every card game seems like it does as like stringent testing, or at least they seem to kind of be more like how we were talking about, the Digimon banlist a few weeks ago, where it can kind of feel like these companies, and One Piece has had this too, where they're a bit at like the whims of their community to an almost unhealthy degree, where it's like, oh, people complain about a ban list. Oh, sorry, guys, we'll change it. So yeah, like Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't, like, we haven't really gotten too many like of those sorts of interactions in Yu-Gi-Oh in the last few years.
From time to time it happens, and this time it happened with Bandai. There are people who are mad at Bandai saying, you don't test your cards enough. How could you let this happen? Honestly, a situation like this, it's not like Sayo and these cards were coming out alongside Sayo and Co. All these cards are significantly older, well, except for Matt. That was in Star Deck 16. But they're older, and so that's much easier to kind of just happen. And the longer this game goes, and that's true for any card game, the more that backlog of cards builds up, the more likely something's going to release that has like a broken interaction.
Yeah. And that's supposed to be, that's kind of the common argument for like a rotation style format is that, when you have rotation formats, this stuff just can't really happen, or at least it's far, far, far less likely to, where, just, some old card from like 2, 3, 4 years ago, new card, blah, blah, blah. So I mean, cool to hear. Yeah. Honestly, cool to hear.
Actually, I would call this a Bandai W. I know most people are upset about it, but it's a W. It's a good thing they stopped
what are people upset about?
That it happened at all. They're just mad that like there are some people who probably identified the loop possibility, and they're like, "Ooh, I'm gonna get everybody with this." And then there are people who are like, "Come on, Bandai, how could you print a card like this and not realize it would work with BT13 Keenan Crier? You're so stupid. How did you not see this?"
I mean, if I had to pick one group to have more sympathy with, it'd probably be the second one. Because like I've never like, oh no, they won't let me do my broken loops that skips my opponent's turn. Like what? What are you mad about? Oh no, I can't. Like, come on. Like, do you? So this gets a little mean. It's like, do you fucking want to play the game or do you not? Like, because the reason I say that is like, if you are literally playing decks where the goal is to just not let the opponent play, and I'm not talking about like the hyperbolic, Yu-Gi-Oh make
I'll say it's wild a Yu-Gi-Oh player saying this.
I'm talking about like literally, I want to do a mechanic that will not allow your turn to happen. There won't even like draw phase won't even go, or like that's what we're talking, that level of like turn skip and then I win. Then what am I here for? I mean, I can play.
Paul hasn't played a lot of Commander format.
So, and I've heard like Commander's got like that sort of stuff. There's like the infinite mana thing.
Infinite turns, infinite mana, infinite attacks. And I'm
just like, when I see people get like giddy over finding that stuff out and like abusing it at their local card shop against like people, I don't see the appeal. Now, tournaments, sure, go crazy, be terrible, be mean.
I think that's the place it doesn't belong.
But even still, you're right. Like, even still, that like it's like it doesn't change the fact that should get hit. Like it's both for casual play, it's bad, and for tournament play, it should happen up until like the moment the company recognizes it, and that stuff should be getting banned. Like, I guess what I'm trying to say is Bandai is not doing anything wrong, in my opinion, in banning this. I don't like. I see no. If someone has an argument about that, please. But like, I don't get like why you'd be upset. Like, how dare they take away my fun little toy that lets me. remove my opponent from the game.
That's not a common sentiment, but it is a sentiment that I've seen in the comments that some people are mad they don't get to use these cards, this interaction. But I don't think that's even I don't think that's even close to the majority of people.
Okay, I hope not.
Because I think most people just would not want to play against this. That's not fun. That's horrible.
You wouldn't play against it.
Your
turn gets skipped, doesn't it?
It's not like this isn't like the last ban list where with like a Pokemon and stuff where you the cards are so strong you lose to them. These cards aren't strong. They're just badly designed, or they have a bad interaction in their design.
Yeah. Now, as for the whole, should Bandai have noticed this in testing? I do not know how large their R&D team is. So I kind of agree that they probably could have noticed this. I don't know how long they playtest stuff and to what extent.
It's really tough in games like Digimon to do that type of playtesting, because this isn't like Yu-Gi-Oh, where it's feasible that many cards can be used in main situations, and in Yu-Gi-Oh, so many things are archetype locked, where you don't even have to really worry about certain cards interacting with one another because they're locked into their archetypes. In Digimon, there is this assumption of color restriction. Sayo and Ko is a blue card. It's meant to be played in a blue and red deck. But other than Zubamon, which is a red card, the other two are purple, and I don't know if they truly thought to double check.
Yeah.
Maybe it should have been noticed. Maybe it should have been obvious.
I'm not gonna say oh my god, terribly incompetent company, you suck, right? But I will say that I'm shocked that since I thought it was gonna be okay, there's one card that kind of slipped through the cracks, an older card that didn't notice. But if there's three, then that does make it seem man, you think they would have noticed one of the three.
It's just
but
awkward.
Maybe not.
It's just awkward because the Zubamon, Keenan, and the Matt, they're not the most popular cards in the world. But I guess it could happen. They probably should have caught it, but they did catch it after printing. I mean, it's better that they caught it now than later.
So is the card out yet?
It comes out in EX5, so that's coming out in 2 weeks.
Okay, so I guess that they've already sent it to the material.
Yeah, it's printed. That thing is printed. Okay. It's hot.
Although I guess they wouldn't have even been able to change the card because the function's already kind of built in. So yeah, I get you.
I think the real issue here is Bandai's over-reliance on power creep to move their game forward, because they're getting more and more intrusive with the way they design these cards. This card's effect starts at the beginning of your opponent's turn.
Yeah.
We're getting more and more effects that trigger during your opponent's turn. We have cards that activate at the end of the opponent's turn. We have cards that activate during the end of our turn, the start of our turn, and the start of our opponent's turn. It's all right, well, this is what's gonna happen, Bandai. You keep making even more and more intrusive effects.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time.
You're going to run afoul of your own cards.
One more little Yu-Gi-Oh comparison is I do think of the more our turn decks.
Mm-hmm.
Some people like them. They feel that they actually help with the interactivity problem. Other people do not like them and find that it's it's annoying. I don't want my opponent playing on my turn. So
in this case, it wouldn't even be our turn. It's all the turns are mine.
Yeah,
my turn.
Okay,
but that's all I got to say about that one. I thought it was a fun story.
Cool. Other card game things?
Let's have a look. See, do I have anything? No more card games? Yeah, I'm out of card games.
Out of card games. All right. Well, I've got one more story from my end. This is another AI story. So today I'm the one bringing them.
It's never about Allen Iverson.
I AI generated my contributions to the podcast.
That's not funny. That's not funny. We're not laughing.
This is the SAG-AFTRA strikes deal. So SAG-AFTRA strikes deal because there were strikes. But the SAG-AFTRA, it strikes a deal for AI voice acting licensing in video games. This is announced at CES 2024. That's the Consumer Electronics... What's the S? Show? Consumer Electronics Show. It's in Las Vegas this week. And that's where they show off a bunch of cool kind of upcoming tech products. Some of them just conceptual, others actually happening. I've seen some really neat stuff. I saw more just cool features in cars, some robot that could clean up milk off the floor.
What does this have to do with
whatever.
SAG-AFTRA?
I'm just giving context to what CES is.
I just don't know why these two are related.
They're not.
Okay.
But anyways, and I don't know why SAG-AFTRA is even talking about this here in particular.
That's what I was wondering.
Okay, yeah, I get that. I get why you did. Anyways, SAG-AFTRA, the union representing thousands of performers, has struck a deal with an AI voice acting platform aimed at making it easier for actors to license their voice for use in video games. Under the deal, which was announced during a press event at CES 2024, SAG-AFTRA members will be able to work with Replica Studios, chilling name, to license their voice to game studios. You know about Replica Studios?
Yeah, I'm familiar with that name. That's REP, like K, right? Replica?
I think it's got a C.
Oh, never mind. That's a different Replica, I guess.
So this, according to the union's top negotiator, so the agreement paves the way for professional voiceover artists to safely explore new employment opportunities for their digital voice replicas. The agreement comes as Hollywood is still grappling with the use of AI. Last year, SAG-AFTRA reached a deal with Hollywood studios that included AI protections following a months-long strike.
Right.
As a result, studios are now required to pay actors and obtain their consent before using an AI-generated version of their likeness. Their latest agreement with Replica Studios seems to follow a similar framework. So, that's the story.
Got it.
My understanding of this is that basically this is allowing a voice actor to have an official means, a sort of protected means of selling the ability, like their digital voice.
Right.
The ability for a company to use their digital voice in a game. So now, like a game developer or whatever can't just use it, and like it's kind of the wild, wild west of what the policies and stuff are and how the compensations would work. But now, they will work with this particular studio, and there will be protections and provisions in place to make it a kind of symbiotic process with everyone's best interest at heart.
Right.
Thoughts?
I don't trust it.
You don't trust it? What
Not
do you mean?
one bit.
Okay.
Because what essentially they're saying is, because they're saying, sell us your voice.
Right.
In a sense, you sell us your voice, and we'll have this like contract where we limit our use and our storage and whatnot of it. It's safe, and you will be compensated for your voice. But you're selling your voice. Voice actors, they typically sell a performance. Yeah. Like other actors, I sell you a performance. But what they want is to be able to use that voice for like extra means beyond just a performance. Maybe it's to fill in extra scenes after they wrap filming or something. Or maybe it's for marketing purposes. But you're selling someone the right to use your voice, and you just have to trust that, they're not going to use it outside the purview of your agreement. They're going to have your voice or data on file. Which they can
use for like training other model,
Yeah.
So you're not alone in those sentiments as it happens. Some well-known voice actors were immediately skeptical of the news, as the BBC reports. In a press release, SAG-AFTRA said the agreement had been approved by, quote, affected members of the union's voiceover performer community. But on X, voice actors said they had not been given advance notice. Here's a quote from Veronica Taylor. How has this agreement passed without notice or vote, wrote Veronica Taylor, who voiced Ash in Pokémon. Encouraging/allowing AI replacement is a slippery slope downward. Mm-hmm. Roger Clark, who voiced Arthur Morgan in Red Dead Redemption 2, also suggested he was not notified about the deal. He says, if I can pay for permission to have an AI rendering of an A-list voice actor's performance for a fraction of their rate, I have next to no incentive to employ 90% of the lesser-known working actors that make up the majority of the industry.
Facts.
Also, SAG-AFTRA's deal with Replica only covers a sliver of the game industry. Separately, the union is also negotiating with several of the major game studios after authorizing a strike last fall. So, it's going to be a little tricky. One other thing, too, that's worth noting is that the agreement does not cover whether actors' replicas can be used to train large language models, LLMs, though Replica Studios CEO Shreyas Nevis said the company was interested in pursuing such an arrangement. So, that's an interesting one. I mean, I think it sounds like this is actors were not informed that this was really happening.
At least not all of them.
Not some of them were not. Maybe some were. And they're a little skeptical. And I think that they have right to be because, it's rough. Like, it's such a murky world with AI. And, earlier we were talking about AI imagery. And there's already plenty of, like, ethical arguments about whether or not that is, you train these images on existing art, existing, man-made creations. This is a little different because it's not just generating an image. It's generating, like, I definitely think audio is something that it's a form of art and like it's its own thing, but like man, you get
but this isn't just art anymore.
Yeah, it's a kind of move beyond that. Like there's an element of likeness, and there's also kind of this like after the fact thing where like you do your performance because like from what it sounds like, this is my understanding of it. I am a talented voice actor, we're gonna say. And you are a video thank you. You're a video game company and you want to use my voice. And let's say I'm okay with it actually as it happens. I'm okay with using my digital voice. That's cool. This allows me a way like a sort of a more protected way to provide consent for that and all that. That sounds like that's kind of the sales pitch here. But what I guess I don't know is will you then use it to train AI for the future? Will you slip it into a few other games and like kind of just it goes uncredited? Like
it ends up as an NPC voice.
Well, because I feel like that could happen. Like I could see a really realistic scenario where like a lot of in movies and games you'll see these things where it's like like there are like uncredited roles and stuff, and so where does that land? Like would someone know the difference? So. Another thing too is there's the typical like issue about like if an A-list like this like Roger Clark says, if I can pay for permission to have an AI rendering of an A-list voice actor, why would I ever look at the new budding voice actors?
Yo, if Steve Blum signs off on this, it's a wrap. It's a wrap for the industry.
Because like there are voice actors they've been in the game for a long time. They're very good, very talented, and have very desirable voices. And typically, the reason they can't do every role under the sun is because they're human beings with limited time and interests and whatever and availability. But if now any company or any like game company, game studio, or whatever, like can purchase their voice for like a fraction of the cost that it would actually take to commission them or whatever, then why would you ever go for like an upcoming voice actor? Or why would you trust the risk there?
Like if Tara Strong signs off on that, it's over.
Yeah, and exactly. So it's kind of I don't know that that's like a great thing. Now I think that the agreement itself sounds like it's a good thing because it's at least adding a protection that was not formally there. So that it's adding some degree of structure and like protection to it, but I guess it's still murky and it's not covering enough.
I don't like it. With AI in art, there are too many repercussions to haphazardly do much of anything. You will step on people. You will like damage the industry in some way. And in this case, I feel like this would benefit the top end of the industry and do irreparable harm to the lower end, because if what you theorize comes to term, then I think that will push smaller voice actors to seek to sell their voices to these types of companies, like almost desperately.
Yeah, which would probably drive down the value of their voice. Because if you're desperate for the sale, you're willing to accept a lot less.
Because it just like AI can make these art-based industries so much harder to work in, and in sometimes it's like, oh well, it'll make everyone get better at their craft. But if you sell your voice,
I know. That is the common argument I hear about, like in defense of AI, is that well, it'll make artists have to get better or have to reevaluate their worth. Like maybe instead of charging $80 for this art commission, you should be charging $40. because
Like,
I can go and generate it for 10. Or, same with the voice acting thing. It's like, well, I guess if AI can do your job, then I guess you weren't very valuable anyway.
See,
but I don't like that much because I think that these AI would be nothing without people. Like that's a fact. Like I get that there are uses for AI that maybe could be justified, this and that. That's a conversation I'm totally willing to have. But one thing I don't think I can really, kind of cave on is that there would not be AI voices if the concept of a voice from a human did not exist. There would not be AI art because there'd be no human art for it to learn from.
And yet here we are creating an artificial thing to replace the thing that made it.
Yeah, and so it's like, I don't know. I guess it's going to be... The worst part about it is... There's this unfortunate reality that the cat's out of the bag.
Yeah.
There's not really... We can't put it back in. I think that it is, unfortunately, not really something that can be undone. No. And I think that to try to kind of fool yourself into thinking that it can be outright undone you're tricking yourself, right?
It's over with.
There's 1,000,001 AI generator sites now that are free. Mm-hmm. And they're all over the world. There's apps, there's sites, there's all kinds of things. So even if you don't want to get into the hardcore, I'm going to install Stable Diffusion and Midjourney, you can just find sites that just do it. Mm-hmm. Generate you an anime character, generate you an icon, whatever, that sort of thing. I think that given that that's the case, the best we can do is at least try to put in protections for the people who are just directly going to be out of a job because of this.
See, I don't want protections. Protections is for me too little, too late. I want hard stop regulations where we don't need to protect our artists because it won't be allowed in. I don't think AI should even be allowed in the voice acting industry. Hard stop because of all the consequences that come with it.
Okay.
And I'm no professional. I'm no government leader or any much of anything. So my opinion is not worth anything. But I'm an art elitist. And I truly do believe that I am. I don't think we should be trying to devalue art. I don't think voice actors should have to charge less for their work. I don't think traditional artists or even digital artists should have to charge less from their work. Because I don't think this AI art boom has any value at all unless you're a giant corporation. Real art is still real art. That AI stuff needs to be somewhere else.
Yeah. I think that there would... I know that there was one thing... I'll try not to drag it on too much longer, but there was one... I know that there was one sort of initiative that they wanted where you could kind of build in metadata into images that so let's say I generate an image on Stable Diffusion or whatever, and there will be a piece of metadata embedded in the file that will always follow it that just says this is AI art, and it's a piece of metadata that can't be stripped from the file. You will know that it is AI art. That was one idea people had. Obviously, that's not going to work because someone's just going to freaking screenshot it and it's now and then just share that, and the screenshot won't have any of the metadata? The exif data. There won't be any of that. So, but I'm always in favor of at least trying to do those things. I do not really care much for AI imagery, and I certainly don't care much. I think that AI voice acting is creepy. That actually gives me chills. But I think that people should know what they're engaging with. I think that's what it comes down to for me. I'm not saying shut down and sue Stable Diffusion or ChatGPT. They're here, it ain't happening. Let's not delude ourselves. I am saying, though, that people should always be able to know if what they're hearing in the video game or what they are, viewing as an image is AI generated, and then that way they can make an informed decision about whether or not they want to support that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Because if you're not told that what you're hearing is AI, I think that's ethically very deceptive. But I know that that's a line that's just going to get
the powers that be.
That is a line that is going to get drawn at a different place for everyone. But that's where you're right that I think regulation is all that we can really hope to get, because it doesn't matter that you or I do or don't like it.
Yeah, it is.
That means nothing. Like it will be used anyway. So
all we can do is put our money where our mouth is. If you love AI art so much, I guess you will spend your pennies on your AI art. And for those of us who like art made by humans, we'll spend dollars on that. And that's the best we can do.
Yeah, it's a bit of it's a tough line in the sand, and not even a really entirely clear one. Like for myself, like I said, I've used Google Bard, so again, I don't know that
I separate the AI conversation from the AI art conversation.
Yeah, so yeah, that's interesting. So for you, it's the AI art thing kind of feels like it's a different.
But I'm talking about art in a broader sense. That's music, that's images, that's physical art. Voice. That's all art to me. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that was fun. Anyways, SAG-AFTRA seems like they've got the artist's best interests at heart, or at least that's the story. However, I think it's time to look into the pot of greed and draw a card.
Ask the pot. I hope there's no AI in here.
Yeah. Should AI make the next Yu-Gi-Oh card? That's the question.
Who says they're not?
Yeah. Maybe Konami's AI generating. I mean, they always claim they do that with the Master Duel ban list. They AI generate that shit. But no. Hopefully they never make an AI generated Yu-Gi-Oh card. Or hopefully we never find out that they did.
Right. All right. So would a commons only format work for Yu-Gi-Oh? Sure, right? I mean, it would be a lower power format than what we're used to, but
they've done this in the past.
Oh, have they? Like officially?
Yeah, I don't know if you remember the so there's like the Pegasus challenge at like events where like Pegasus kind of says stuff. Well, no, there's the Pegasus challenge, and there's also like the Pegasus format or something. I think that's what it was called. It might have had a different name.
Oh, I'm not.
But basically, there was a format. I think it had a different name. There was a format where you had to use cards of all the same rarity.
Oh, I do remember that.
Yeah, so your deck could be like all commons or all rares or all supers. And so it's like if you want to use your Seeker of Sinful Spoils, your whole deck has to be Secret Rare.
Yikes.
Or if you want to use your Bonfire, your whole deck has to be Ultra Rare. So you can't actually search, Snake Eye, many of them, because they're not Ultra. So it's kind of an interesting thing. I think that a format like that sounds pretty fun. I know that when that typically happens, some decks are more advantaged than others because they've just had more reprints or like low rarity prints. But I think that is part of the charm.
I guess that would be the equivalent to Magic's Pauper format.
Yes. Yeah, I think like it's a pretty good thing. Like I would be willing to give it a crack.
Yeah, just because it wouldn't cost me much.
Yeah, it would be inexpensive. So if nothing else, like you can just do that. I think that it might cause a little bit of a demand for like, it's funny, print more stuff common, Konami, so I can play like my meta deck in this format.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is you guys want to play Rescue Ace Diabell Star in the common format, huh? All right, there we go.
Yeah, like I want to play the best deck, and they should just print all the stuff common. Now, granted, it's not that much different than what people want right now, which is for Konami to print good cards and lower rarities anyway. But I do think it's a pretty creatively fun idea. So
yeah, I don't mind it. I think it's pretty cool.
Also, shout outs to Yu-Gi-Oh! Commons making it way easier to actually see the card art on the thing. So, all
right, what you got, Paul?
My question is, what makes a good Yu-Gi-Oh! Card? I don't have the bandwidth for this today.
All right.
So I don't. It's not a bad question. It's just like it's.
So, Paul, all right, we're going to make a list, Paul. All right. What are the qualities that would make one card good and another card bad? The first thing that jumps out to me is the lack of a heart once per turn.
I mean, I think that, well, yeah, that's true. I was going to say more from like just the design, conceptual thing, like, that's part of it too. Yeah, I mean, I think cards that are situational tend to not be very good. Situational as in, like, just if it's like, when your opponent attacks you with a monster that has over 2,500 attack points, all these like conditions, yeah, you don't want that. Obviously, card economy factors in. You want it to either be a 0 at worst or a plus at, like a +1 or +2.
So cards that don't cost like more than like one resource.
Yeah, the resource being literally just activating it.
Right.
Like wanted is strictly a beneficial card, right? Like flexibility helps. Wanted can get a card from the deck or the grave, like the Dear Servant or something. So it's very, very nearly never going to be dead.
The lack of like archetype or type locking.
Yeah, any type locking being absent, that the good stuff tends to have or not have that.
I think.
I mean,
so if we make a card that is a +1 in card advantage, that does not have a heart once per turn, and that doesn't lock you into anything when you play it, and there's no conditions attached to when you can activate it. If all 4 of those things are true, do you think that the card is almost guaranteed to be good?
Probably.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so too. I mean, what's tricky with Yu-Gi-Oh too is like with the card pool that we've got at this point, what makes a card good or bad almost feels like it's not even relevant as just like, does the card have a use or not? Like, because there are cards that are pretty middling, like in terms of just their actual effect, but if they just happen to fit the right criteria for something else to abuse them, then they can suddenly be a lot more of a threat or a lot more relevant. But then
that is conditional.
So like, because the thing is, like, Ash Blossom is conditional.
Right.
And has a hard once per turn and stuff like that. And it's not a +1, or typically isn't. But like, it's still just really good. So, it's tough stuff. I don't know.
I mean, is Ash a better card than Imperm?
What do you think?
I think not.
Okay.
Just because Imperm is more flexible in its usage. That you can just kind of slap down an Imperm on a monster, and it being Chain Link 2 means you can respond to things with it. And so I think in a weird way, our like criteria is a good way it is an okay way to identify if a card might be better than another, just because I think Imperm's a better card than Ash. I think it's more flexible, and it can stop. It can stop more, or maybe not more things. Ash is pretty,
that's what I was gonna say.
Ash is pretty broad.
The thing is, I think Ash is actually more broad than Imperm. Like in terms of card types and stuff. I mean, it can hit spells, it can hit traps, it can hit monsters.
It can hit more things.
So, like, I don't know. I think that they're comparable, but it's just the best you can really say that there are both good cards.
Right. Yeah.
I don't even know that one's better. I mean, Ash probably sees a hair more play. But it's gotten pretty close these days. Like, they're both staples.
Imperm seems to be in every profile I look at.
So, the question's a bit nebulous, but that's the best answer we've got. So, for now at least, that's a great question for the audience, though. What makes a good card? I think it's hard to say in Yu-Gi-Oh now.
So many sets have bulk filler cards. What do you think of this, and what do you do with it all? So what do we think of bulk, and how do we deal with our bulk?
Well,
I mean, I don't think anyone likes like bulk filler cards, and sets have a lot of them. Every single set does.
My advice to people as far as bulk goes is just sell that shit.
Burn it for firewood.
Yeah, don't store it. Don't make the mistake that we have.
Our camera's sitting on bulk right now.
Yeah, we're using it to like balance one of these cameras. But I think like there's too much of it. I hate it. But here's the thing.
It's literally a growing problem.
It's a growing problem, and here's the thing. You chose to play card games, what you get. I've actually started to respect the idea, because I've seen more players taking on this mentality of like the lean card gamer, where you do not have a trade binder and you don't have a collection. If you ever need something, you simply buy it for the deck, and like you don't accumulate. You have like a deck box and then maybe like a small little crate of like staples or something, and that's like where it stops. And people will take every effort to like keep that from growing.
That's an expensive way to live.
They don't do like anything, and they don't mind the extra expense of buying cards when you need them, because it's worth not having that over there off camera.
But what do you do with the like when cards get like hit on ban lists and stuff?
Sell them.
Okay.
Just sell. I mean, sell them or something like that. I don't know. I think that it would be like if I could like kind of live an alternative Yu-Gi-Oh life. That's what I would do. I would just like play like my one deck at a time and just never own any extra excess cards.
I don't know if I can do that. This I got 6 decks in here right now.
Yeah, I'm just to be able to fit 6 in that thing.
But I did it.
So. Okay, here's my last question. When did Yu-Gi-Oh get more heavy with the waifu designs and the card art? That's their word, not mine. And what do you guys think about it?
So what? Okay, the first part is
like,
when.
When did the art style kind of feel like it shifted to feature more? Before I answer more of this, I'm actually trying to make a concerted effort. It's just a self-improvement sort of Yu-Gi-Oh project to not use the word waifu cards anymore. I'm going to, people are like, oh, there's like a waifu deck or whatever. You're paying the waifu tax. I think that that's a little bit like dismissive of what was probably a more intentional shift in card design. So I'm going to just say like card art that features like anime style characters or like anime style like girl characters, let's say.
Okay.
I just think that like, because I know like waifu has like a lot of more degenerate connotations
Trap tricks
and stuff like that. I hope no one's calling them waifu, frankly.
Oh, okay.
That's even
They're
more
anime
scary
style
to me.
girl characters. I just thought that's where we're going with it.
Yeah, when did it happen?
So if I had to place a time period for it, I want to say it was right before Pendulums came out. I think when we started getting more like female like representing cards, because I remember I want to say around the time when Cosmo came out, I think we started to see more like
that would be early in the kind of the Pendulum era. That sounds about right. I mean, I think that's where you would kind of start to see. I think early in the deck builder era sets, like the deck build packs, kind of your Infinity Chasers, Shadow Slayer, or whatever, like Secret Slayers.
Those seem to do it on purpose.
Those were kind of the first time that we would see each of those would have like 3 new.
Main camera down.
It almost made it too. That's where like you'd kind of have your mainline sets, and you have your deck builder sets, and they have 3 different decks in them, and pretty much universally they would always have a like sort of female focused archetype.
Yeah.
Where either it'd be like primarily female monsters or like a female boss monster, and it just felt like clockwork. And what do I think of it? So this is actually a weird one for me. I play a lot of those decks.
You do.
Yeah, I play a lot. I play Witchcrafters. I play Exosisters. I play Labyrinth.
Trap Tricks.
I don't play Trap Tricks. I play. There's a few. There's like one really obvious one that I'm forgetting.
Did you mention
Rika?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I'm always drawn to them, and this is gonna be weird, and I think it's like a difficult thing for a lot of people to understand about like what makes these monsters or whatever appealing to me. It's not the like quote unquote like kind of like waifu like kind of charm or whatever. I actually really just think that the designs are cool or like interesting to me. Like I like that the Exosister monsters, like obviously they're exorcists, right? But also they seem to be traveling.
They don't look like exorcists to me, but hey, whatever float your boat.
Well, no, but like They seem to be like traveling, and I always thought that was like a cool concept. Like they're being like kind of sent out to different places to kind of like I guess like find and exercise like these spirits or something.
Right.
And I always thought that was kind of neat. And like the Rika sort of like plant princess thing is, I don't see any of them in like I would date her, like she would whatever. I think that like they look cool. Like they're girls like skating in a snowy setting, and like they've got their umbrellas and their things. I like the names of the cards. I love like when a normal Yu-Gi-Oh name like Erica, the Rika princess, it kind of feels out of place in a game where there's like Gore is the emissary of darkness, or Darkest Diablos or whatever. And
real
then like
Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
yeah, the real manly cards. But then you can also just sort of like, I summon Exo Sister Sophia, and use her Martha. And I use her. Something about that's very fun for me. But yeah, I've never been drawn to them or that element of a deck has never pulled me to or from a deck. So.
I feel like for me, I guess I've played Cosmo and I've played Amazons. I think those are the only like kind of female like presenting like centric decks that I've played.
Yeah, I feel like it.
And I would have played Cosmo regardless if there was lots of guys or more robots or more aliens. It was Star Wars related, so that was just gonna happen one way or another. That was locked in. Amazons, I liked them. I thought they were cool. But that was so long ago. It feels like it shouldn't even be in the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that there's like I think there's maybe a general conversation to be had about like Yu-Gi-Oh! Kind of feels more anime-ish these days. Like a lot of the archetypes in general just feel like they're anime protagonists kind of thing. And you can take issue with that because like Yu-Gi-Oh! Was not always like that. It was
always based on an anime.
It was based. Not even actually that.
Well, okay, you're right. Not always based on anime.
Yeah.
But at some point,
always an anime component where like they were playing the games. But like the early monsters were like yucky kind of cave dwelling, just evil things. And I think that there is I feel a lot of people miss that age of Yu-Gi-Oh.
I do miss my ugly
just kind of just gross, scary monsters. I think we probably could I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit more of that still. But that's not a strike against like the so-called waifu deck, and that's more just the art style as a whole has gone more anime. So,
but I mean, there is with the deck builder sets, there is clearly a coordination to this. You don't make dragon maids off the cuff, like.
Yeah, I think that is right. So I think that is intentional. Like they know that is material and like imagery that appeals to a lot of your kind of typical card shop going nerd.
Yeah, a lot of like card gamers are also anime fans, and anime fans love their waifus. So why not try to actually create that same thing within the card game itself? But the thing is, not every like female like presenting card is designed to be a waifu.
Yeah,
I feel like that's a bit dismissive.
That's become the equivalency is if there's a girl, then waifu deck, waifu card, waifu tax.
That's not necessarily true. Because like was DD Warrior Lady like a waifu
yeah, was
card?
It a waifu card right
Nah, it was a card that would wreck you. That's what it was.
So yeah, I'm trying to kind of separate I'm trying to kind of avoid using that word going forward, just because I think it's like the connotations maybe aren't the best. Long story short, you will never hear me say like Ray is Bae. Like I'm not like right when that was like a thing, like Sky Striker Ray was Bae, and then that comic or whatever the manga came out.
Never played Sky Strikers.
Yeah, neither did I. People found out she was like 13, and that suddenly all changed.
I don't think it changed for some people.
So
y'all got to work on yourselves.
So. Yeah, I'm not like one of those duelists. I play the decks because I think that the concept's cool. So cool.
But that was actually all of our questions for today's episode of The Pod of Greed.
Hopefully you enjoyed it. Some pricing controversy and a little bit of deep dark AI existentialism.
You're always going to get a little bit of AI here. Yeah. We're the Yu-Gi-Oh! Magic the Gathering AI and MCU podcast.
Yeah, we haven't talked MCU in a while.
I had one, but I'll bring it up next week.
Okay, I'll bring it up next week. Echo, I think, is out. So maybe we'll watch it.
Yeah,
the first
and then we'll give our review as we cry. Yeah. No, I think the whole series is out.
Are you going to watch the whole thing?
I think they dropped the whole thing, yeah. In that very Netflix style.
Oh, interesting.
Maybe, I'm not sure. That's what I read.
I'm looking forward to seeing
that. But get ready to hear our thoughts. We're going to have 2 hours just for that.
Yeah, so hopefully, if you're tired of hearing us banter on about AI, maybe next week will be MCU again or something. Who knows? All right. Thank you again. Make sure that you drop a like, leave your comments on anything that we talked about today. Shout out to the people that are listening right this very moment in the YouTube premiere.
And if you want your questions inside the pot of greed, you got to go down to our forum and enter them in.
All right. See you guys in the next one.
Pass turn.